Lars, welcome to Amazon. Great to have you here. Lars Veul, co-founder of Pargo. Looking forward to sharing a cup of coffee with you, and thanks for braving the traffic this morning. Grab a seat and let's get into it.
Thanks, Rob.
So hey, Lars, tell me about Pargo. What problem are you guys solving? What do you guys do?
Cool, yeah. So Pargo is an e-commerce delivery business specialized in the PUDO, the pickup point and drop-off point solution, or out of home, as some people call it. Pargo's been around for 10 years now. We started Pargo in 2015 because we noticed an issue and a challenge for e-commerce companies in the market. Derek, my co-founder, and I both have a background like yours in e-commerce. We are both Dutch, and we came to South Africa a few years before that. We came here to help scale a global e-commerce company, and in that project, basically we were asked to come here for 2 years, and in that project we realized the big challenges of last mile logistics that South Africa has. And the three biggest challenges that we recognize is there's a lot of people in South Africa that live in areas that are difficult to access. The cost of delivery, because of that difficult accessibility, can be quite high. And there's just a lot of people that are not at home the whole day and waiting for the courier to arrive. So those three challenges, and the solution we got to that was, why don't we just use stores where people can deliver to instead of to their door, and make that delivery through that solution a bit more convenient, a bit more affordable, and a bit more accessible, and really helping e-commerce companies to then access every online shopper in the country, not just the people that live in your middle to higher class neighborhoods, but access to everybody.
So I know, partnering with you guys, it's allowed us to have, it's over 4,000 pickup points around the country, which is super exciting. But walk me through, what's the customer experience? So I order on Amazon, I place my order, I select my pickup point as, Ulundi in KwaZulu-Natal. What's the experience?
So let's go one step forward, right? Before that, without our solution, what that means, if you're living in a town, it would probably be quite difficult for you to receive that parcel. Not impossible, but quite difficult. Yeah. The couriers, with all their innovation and improvements they've made over the years, still struggle to go into townships and into rural communities. By having that store mostly set up in a either well-known brand, a Clicks or a petrol station, or a lot of our pickup points are local independent entrepreneurs, SMEs, spaza shops, or community buildings. So what it does for that consumer is that they can now come to Amazon, buy something online, and be ensured that that parcel will be delivered there within 2 or 3 days, and collect that parcel on their own time and their own convenience. They have 8 days to collect. So as soon as the parcel arrives, they'll get a notification to say your parcel is ready for collection, and then they have 8 days where they go and collect that parcel. Just making their lives a little bit easier, making sure that they receive that parcel, and eliminating these missed deliveries, and eliminating the need for either Amazon to then have to retry that a few times, and for the customer to now be frustrated, be on the phones trying to understand where their order is. Now it's just there, and they can collect it whenever they want.
Yeah, I must say I find it very encouraging when you look at a heat map, which I like to do from time to time, but just seeing how far and all over the country where we're actually delivering. And I think, although we do deliver to a lot of the townships, Alex and a number of other places around the country, at least it's giving that individual the choice. Yeah. Are you seeing sort of big uptake in like rural areas? Like if I'm coming to town once a week, let's say, or just once a month, even on payday?
Yeah. So what we see is typically the online shopper in South Africa will be in one of the big cities, Johannesburg, Cape Town, Pretoria, Durban. Your bulk of your customers will be there. And then within those big cities, most customers are still in the residential neighborhoods and a smaller part in the townships. Awesome. What we see is that the amount of users that use Pargo is disproportionately high in those rural communities or in those townships. So our splits will be quite different to probably Amazon splits in terms of where we see a lot of use cases for customers that use the pickup points. But I have to say, like, it's a big part of consumers that do it for that accessibility, but there's also in your Sandtons and CBD Cape Town, like areas where typically a courier does not have any challenge to deliver. That should be an easy go. Sure. That's still a lot of customers like this option just because of the convenience that they can collect at their own time. They don't have to be at home. They don't have to worry about that driver coming at their office or at their house. So we see it on both cases, but I think disproportionately higher in these rural and township communities.
Yeah, fantastic. An interesting angle of this is you mentioned that some of these are small businesses, guys who actually, and I mean, we've got a big focus on small business, helping small businesses to sell in the store, but it sounds like you guys are helping these small businesses build and develop in these rural areas. Tell us about that.
So the number one reason why businesses, small businesses, or even the big brands want to become a Pargo pickup point is for the foot traffic. Every time an Amazon customer goes to collect a parcel, they see that as an opportunity to maybe do some upsell to that customer as well. We see that about 1 in 3 customers will buy something in those stores. We have a few amazing case studies with spaza shops across the country. There's one that comes to mind is in Hammanskraal, where there's a little bakery that's been with us, I think almost for 10 years now. And he, before we even came in with data, his own data, he would always call us and say, guys, it's been amazing. When we went into the first Christmas, he says, I've never sold so many cakes as this Christmas because all these customers are coming to collect parcels. And he was a smart entrepreneur. He already beforehand had made little flyers and gave them with the parcel, said, if you need Christmas shopping, come here and I have some specials for you. So he really used the opportunity to not just get that customer to collect the parcel, but actually to make his own little business thrive and to start selling more goods to the consumers that are coming to his store. And I think that's great, right? That's why we do it, and that's why these stores all want to be part of the network.
Hey, it's hard to resist that smell of freshly baked goods when you're standing in front of them. So, but I mean, good on him. And it sounds like that impact in rural economies, spazas, it just provides a new opportunity for them, which is exciting. A question I often get asked is, I mean, you're an entrepreneur. I mean, it's exciting that you came here and set up in South Africa, but what is your advice for entrepreneurs? Someone who wants to do the same thing or, has this cool idea. It's hard to start a new business. Advice for these guys?
I mean, I get asked a lot, obviously, this question about it's hard, risky, right? People always perceive it as being very risky to start an own business. And I mean, for me, I completely disagree. I feel like there is no risk in starting an own business. I feel there's only upside, there's only things you can win. Obviously, it depends a little bit on the stage in your life and how old you are. And I can imagine if you are a little bit older, you have to provide for a whole family. That might make things a bit different. But if you're still young and you have, 2 paths you can go into, which is a corporate world or your own business world, in my opinion, try the business if that's what you want, because you can hardly fail. Even if you fail, you just learn a lot, and that other path will always be there. And I think for me, that is always like the advice I give everybody. Like, guys, just start. Don't make it too big in your head. Just take that first step and start. And I think that's kind of more about starting a business. I think maybe the second one, more practically, is that I think where we are today, to start a business with the amount of tools out there, of course we can't, if you're talking about tools these days, you have to talk about AI. But what's out there in terms of tools and AI tools that can help people start businesses. If we look outside of South Africa, just the success stories we are seeing now of groups of 1 to 10 young entrepreneurs that are already starting to build companies that are going to the tens, even hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, with keeping that team super small because they're just using AI tools to do whatever they need to do. I think that's also something that is just there's no better time than to become an entrepreneur than it is today, right? There's so much possibilities that you have now, and I feel like that has just been going better. If I look at 10, 15 years ago when we started, we already had so much more optionality and tools than probably people that were, for instance, Jeff Bezos when he started his business, right? So it just gets better and better and better. I would say just take that first step and use the tools out there, because there's plenty of opportunities to be solved, or problems to be solved, and plenty of tools to support you on that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I was listening to a presentation, Mark Cuban said exactly the same. It's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. And I think especially like in South Africa, where our access to knowledge and help and assistance, where with AI, there are a lot of questions that you can ask and get good answers and build your business plan. So it's much more democratizing for people to start. But it still is scary. I mean, I'm deeply passionate about South Africa and seeing the future of South Africa. And I think a lot of that is going to come from small business. I mean, we've got such great ideas, but I think sometimes we can get really wrapped up in our own negativity about what's happening. And yet there are people who are really building these cool businesses and businesses that are holding their own internationally. And I always say to the team, with our sellers on the store, there's no reason why the next big brand in the world shouldn't come from South Africa. There's just zero reason. And I think if anything, we're great at being very scrappy and how we build those businesses. So yeah, I think it's exciting times. One of the things that is super important to us is we go out of our way to run like a startup. We're a small team, very, very scrappy. We call it day one in our operation, as if we've just started. Very customer oriented. But tell us about the culture at Pargo. How do you are a startup in a lot of senses. Tell me about that culture and how you build the culture within the company.
Well, first thing I always internally tell people about culture is that I think it's important to distinguish what people really mean by culture. I think for a lot of people, when they talk about culture, they talk about the outward-facing things, the things you put on a big wall, the core values, and that's part of it. But for me, it's more about how you really show up at work, how you behave, how you make decisions. And as a small business, what basically you try to do, obviously, is try to maximize the output from a very small team and take on, in our case, sometimes companies that are 10, 100 times bigger than ourselves. So what we look for in terms of people, is like a few things, but one is people that take action. We're very action driven, and I think where in the past, if things where we made mistakes, maybe people that are not as action driven as we are. Prioritizing customers, I think one of the big things that Amazon is known for is also one of the things that we try to do. I have to say though, that is easier said than done. It is it's always a hard one to keep that one like central, but we try to keep that very much in the forefront of what we do. Another one that's very important for us is we want what we call dream big, and I feel like that's also something that is easy to say, but doesn't come natural for a lot of people. So we look for ambitious people that want to go with us on this journey of trying to see like how big can this company become, how far can it reach, what don't think of limitations, but again back into opportunities. And so yeah, we try to create a culture, like a high performing culture, based on some of these core values, based on processes and structures within the company to help push that. We've made a few big steps over the last years, whereby we also did a little bit of what you said. Is like we felt, even as a small business, that we had already become a little bit too corporate, and we went back to kind of the basics and took out all the corporate fluff and said, okay, let's just go back to just getting very simple, getting things right. And honestly, that's been every time that we go a little bit off that path is when things start going slower, and when we go back to the path of simplicity, of taking action, of just like focus is another very big thing, just one thing at a time. Every time again, that creates results, and that works.
It's so interesting to hear you talk about your what is important to you guys and how it mirrors our leadership principles, which is something we live on a regular basis. It's that bias for action, that ownership, customer obsession, think big. I'll never forget sitting in one of my first Amazon reviews 10 years ago, and just being challenged on, wow, that's so incremental. Even though there was 15-20% growth in what I was proposing, it's like, why can't you grow it 4 times that, 10 times that? And really challenging some of those. And it's surprisingly liberating in your thinking. But it's a discipline that you have to get into and continually be challenging each other on, which is exciting. So Lars, any sort of closing remarks? What have I not asked you that you'd love to tell us about?
Look, I think maybe as a business, where we are today it's been 10 years for Pargo, which is a great milestone, I think, already for ourselves. We're looking already what's the coming 10 years going to bring us. So for us is to continue innovating within the e-commerce delivery space in South Africa. We have some, I think, very exciting projects that we're working on that we want to start launching in the coming years. There's some very cool work we're also doing with your team here at Amazon. But beyond that, it's that we believe this, if you talk about dreaming big, we believe this company can become, out of South Africa, we can really get into, become a global player, and that will start in Africa. So we are already active in Egypt, started there just over a year ago. It's still small, but growing very fast. And our ambitions and goals is like we want to take this business into the rest of Africa and grow it across the continent and maybe even beyond after that.
Yeah, I think the opportunity is so exciting for Africa as a whole. 1.2 billion people, and getting more and more access to internet and disposable income, and it certainly is the growth area worldwide.
And what I think is maybe specifically interesting and exciting is that we've been having this vision and this ambition for many years, but I think maybe one of the challenges we saw a little bit was that for to build an e-commerce delivery company across Africa, first there needs to be e-commerce. And what's very exciting for me is that players like Amazon are not just now in South Africa, but also in Egypt. Your competitors as well. It's like the big e-commerce companies, not just local but also globally, are now looking at Africa very seriously, much more seriously than they were 5 to 10 years ago. So I think Africa, as a as a continent where e-commerce, I think, is going to start becoming a very big part of sales, of retail sales, has already started. It's just going to start taking off, and our goal and ambition is to be part of that and to enable that growth.
Yeah, I think the exciting. It's I think with all of that growth of e-commerce in Africa, it's just great for customers. Getting access to a wide selection of products, great prices, and the convenience of being able to get it no matter where you are in the continent. So exciting times, great for our customers. But hey, Lars, great to talk to you. Looking forward to the partnership in the future, and ongoing. Let's innovate together, and let's see what we can do together for our customers.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Lars. Cheers.